Good afternoon.
It's a pleasure to be back here on stage. I think it was May 2018 when I talked about work-life balance. Today, my topic is about stressors. I will not talk much about all the gamut of stressors that we have. I'll focus on two particular topics, which I will tell you later. First, I would like to start with an anecdote. It was a few months ago when I was lining up in a queue in a small bank branch in a small shopping mall. And then, probably 7 persons ahead of me was a lady, seems like an executive, still like always looking at her watch and like with a neck straight, and like there were just 2 tellers working, and there were 4 marketing staff there, and like she's always asking, are there only 2 tellers here? And like I think the atmosphere was very tense. And she stormed out of the bank. And then there was a customer who said, you know, if she likes to be in a hurry, why doesn't she go to a bigger branch and a bigger mall? Meaning, why be so impatient? And I stormed also, not be stormed, I left the bank also because of the long queue. Obviously, I'm not going to follow her, but it's just that the idea stuck to my mind. How many toxic customers can you really get in a day? Can you answer me?
A lot.
You can? That's good. With a lot of running, you can do that. You can really suffer so many toxic customers. But in my mind, also being a work-life balance expert, I can imagine that that person can get into an office and here comes the subordinate. Nakuha si ma'am. She'll shout at us. No? Or she will go home and she'll vent her annoyances to her children. And that is what is being studied in research as misplaced emotions. Like I know of a friend of mine saying, you know, I was just so converted because I just appeared at home and my children were like really frightened of me. So it's being studied, no? The effects on the children of working parents' misplaced emotions. So it's stuck in my mind because really my research is work-life balance. And you know, the benefits of having work-life balance. I show it here. So there's a lot of studies, even if you say, you know, there's no work-life balance, there's work-life integration. No matter what you call it, it's just a matter of being able to combine effectively the demands of your different roles in life. So what are the effects? It's greater effectiveness of work, greater productivity, lower turnover, reduced levels of stress, no? So many of those, no, that you can be. And at the organizational level, there are many studies that are trying to quantify the impact of low turnover, which means that you are not going to spend money to replace your people who have resigned, no? You are not going to train them, so there's a lot of benefits in having work-life balance. So it is really a must. But the thing is, when the organizations do not recognize that people really have many demands, many roles, then they're not going to be supportive. And there will be effects in the physical, mental, and emotional health of the people working in that organization. In my local research, well, you can say those are American research. This is a local research of the people that we interviewed as coming from what they reported as polluted workplaces, meaning a place where they cannot really have work-life balance. 40% only get enough sleep, only 38% get enough exercise, and 35% only have energy still at the end of the day, no, to work in matters of home. So this is really a very relevant topic. And I was wondering, probably, perhaps, do you know when the toxic word came into the organizational studies? If it's just more of medicine, so I also researched on that. When did it happen that toxicity, pollution, and everything entered into organizational studies? And also amazed, I saw a California Law Review, 1977 journal, that talked about the toxic workplace. I thought it was something very useful for my research, but it turned out it's the way that they describe workplaces that have hazards, no, from toxic substances. So the author of that study was even apologetic. We're just saying that toxic workplace, but actually it's just for brevity. We're just meaning a workplace with hazardous toxic substances. But now, that was 1977, now you would agree it's a regular, the regular meaning is really poisonous environments where workers are unable to really perform well, with disastrous effects on their health. And of course, what is my concern? The negatives spill over to personal, family, and social life. So the surprising thing also, well, it shouldn't really be a surprise, but it's just that when I was researching recently, the word that really won the 2018 International Word of the Year from the Oxford English Dictionary is? Any guess? Toxic. Toxic. 2018. And even now when I research, just yesterday I was trying to update my research, even up to October 2019, people are blogging about toxic workplaces, toxic bosses. Okay, so it's a trending topic. For the Oxford English Dictionary, it's like 45% spike in searches in the internet about toxic work. And for sure, some are concerned about chemical and physical factors, but others are really concerned about culture and relationships. Yeah? Some relationships are toxic. It's not really anymore a win-win relationship. It's all the I win and you lose, right? So there are many research, and I want to share with you some of the interesting research ideas from what I'm reading. So, Life Meets Work survey of 1,000 college-educated U.S. employees from age 18 to 70. They were interviewed about the leadership styles of their bosses, and the result is that 56% report heavy toxic workplace leaders who belittle their subordinates, who have expressive outbursts, explosive, not expressive, I don't expressive, but explosive outbursts, and who take credit for the work of their subordinates. Yeah? If I have a Mentimeter here at the call that I ask a question, probably I'll get super agreement because I can see you're agreeing with me, no? Then, this is from the American Psychological Association, a very prestigious association. 75% of Americans say their boss is the most stressful part of the workday. Where is it? I heard that you leave your work. It's not really that you leave your work, you leave your boss. It's the reason for resigning, right? Another study, those who work for toxic bosses were 60% more likely to suffer a stroke, heart attack, or other life-threatening cardiac condition. And this is a survey of 3,122 employees in Sweden. So if you really want to really, you have to avoid those situations if you want to live longer, right? And in many studies, it attaches having a toxic, sometimes they call it monster manager or bad boss, relating them to, say, depression, anxiety, increased levels of stress that can attack the immune system. And they say that it can take 22 months to recover so that you become healthier after having an experience with a toxic boss. 22 months, wow, really. The healthcare industry will really be alive, really treating all of these stressed employees, right? Wow, what a market we have here. Okay, just bringing them on. No? So, what is happening here? Why do we have toxic work environments? I conclude 4 areas. Don't go this yet because this is just my conclusion. I think the first is that, like diseases, we can have low resistance to toxicity. And that is because of long working hours, lack of sleep, harsh work conditions, demanding, grueling work hours. Sometimes, it doesn't matter if your boss will give you a lot of work as long as they can also give you a high level of control. The thing is, you combine high demands with low control, that is really, really suicidal. Yeah. I remember it's like somebody telling me, because I was like entrusted, I was like being offered an administrative position, and I said, so how am I going to go about this? I'm going to report to four levels of bosses, and I said, sayang naman ang intelligence, wag na lang. You know, because sometimes it's so stressful not to be able to do things. It's like you are like a boxer with your hands tied and you are placed in the ring. You're really going to die. Because you don't have any leeway. So that is the idea of, okay, give me many demands, but give me a little bit more discretion. So lack of that can really amount to a toxic work environment. And then you can have also a little support from the supervisors. People can say, or your supervisor, when you say, my child is sick, fine, you can go have a leave. My second child got sick. And with that, sometimes they call it mudslinging, like the words that really hurt, they tell you, don't you have any relatives to put your children? Some questions that can be a little bit insulting because you're an adult, you could have thought about all of this. It's just that there are no other alternatives, right? Okay. And then there's a culture of tolerance for disrespectful behavior. Like really, the kind that I mentioned earlier about being in a bank, and I said, sometimes I wonder, am I in the Philippines because I travel a lot? I lived in many countries. And sometimes I think, am I still in the Philippines? How can we be so good? No? So, and then the other thing is lack of role modeling from the top. I heard of some people say, you know, my boss, obviously you're talking about work-life balance. We're just already packing at 5 o'clock, and he says, where are you going? Sir, it's 5 o'clock. I just arrived. So the boss arrives at 5 p.m. and expects everyone to stay cool. But the people, the subordinates, cannot have that kind of flexible schedule to arrive at 5 p.m. Right? They have an 8 to 5 schedule, but they expect too much. Right? So many of those instances I get to hear, no? The lack of role modeling. It's as if the boss doesn't have a life. The boss doesn't have a family. He came from the gym the whole day and he started working, something like that. So the third part is something I told you. I'm really so concerned. Sometimes I think, am I still in the Philippines? No? That kind of lack of civility. And I noticed that back in 2000, there were 2 articles. The first says, why are people so cranky at work? This is year 2000. Similarly, Karen Peterson wrote an article, why is everyone so short-tempered? Was there any progress? No, in 2016, an author wrote, Christine Porras wrote, Mastering Civility, a Manifesto for the Workplace. So isn't that amazing? We are in a civilized society, but we can be very rude. And I can excuse people because probably they're in so much stress, they cannot think anymore. Can you? You can give excuses, right? We don't judge them. You can give them excuses. Probably the wife left him. What happened to him? No. He's not really acting reasonably anymore. So people get into, like, you can say, it's a complicated world. You cannot judge. No? But still, the effects are there. Right? So, I appreciate that all of these bloggers and writers really give a lot of ideas about how to have work-life balance. And from the famous Annie McKee, who from 2008 was already writing about the toxic boss, I share some so that you can bring home with you some of these tips. No? And the first is don't take it personally. Don't let the toxic person touch your self-esteem. No? Or don't compromise your values. Don't get affected by toxic emotions. And be mindful of the natural instinct to fight back because you can become part of the problem if you fight back. Correct? And fight the temptation to feel victimized because the victims feed the toxins. You can always relate that to actual toxins, no? So also the victims cannot leave, no? So I appreciate the fact that there are many of these, but I just observed that a lot of these suggestions are for the individuals. But what happens? You know, you can just imagine a room full of smoke. These are like the toxic workplaces, and you get out of it, you go to the gym, no? You go for yoga and everything, but there are many people in the world who cannot afford it. Many people in the world, single moms, many responsibilities, they cannot even Google the internet to see some self-care strategies, right? So what I'm saying is that we need to help organizations themselves. We need to talk to the HR. Some things must change, no, at the organizational level. There's a book by, I think the author is Goldman, who talked about disruptive leaders, and dysfunctional organizations. Talking about sometimes organizations do not have the mechanisms to get rid of toxicity. Either they tolerate because the toxic boss is very effective, bringing in all the money. So they can excuse, okay lang yan, sumigaw siya, sumigaw, as long as the profits are coming in. But they're affecting the whole system, right? So what can I propose? Actually, the other thing, I remember right now, some of the reasons is that, well, you cannot really recognize a toxic leader right away because they can tend to be very pleasant, and of course, they're very effective, right? And they can actually be like having those ways to make you work like you can be working the task of 4 people. And you're happy and you're being shouted, that's alright because he's so pleasant. Right? He's so nice, and women sometimes they're so nice, no? They really just like to work. And for me, I say, you know, Jose Rizal cannot get out of the monumento to bring in more of the martyrs, no? There's only one person who can be there. Why are you being a martyr? You're doing the work of 5 and being paid the salary of 1 person. Yeah? A lot of martyrdom here, no? Do you see them? I think we can really give them also awards. Right? So, what can organizations do? There's coaching, 360-degree feedback, and I've listened to many podcasts where executives, especially the ones coming from the startup companies, they realized it, no? It was hurtful, but they have changed, and they have changed some professions coming out of toxic work. And I also recommend training for supervisory support. So I have a few minutes to say that this is something I'm going to try. No, that really we have to really train supervisors themselves to recognize, no, that probably they are not giving emotional support. I mean, emotional support is simply just saying, "Can I do something to help you?" Like really recognizing the extensive responsibilities of their people. Structural support is like having a teamwork, no, so that they can really talk about aligning responsibilities. They can say this person cannot make it, so. Like really having the teamwork. Sometimes in a culture where there is no teamwork, it's like somebody says, you know, I'm so happy, I'm pregnant, I'm 2 months pregnant, and the others are saying, 7 months, probably I'll go on a cruise after 7 months because I'm going to get all the jobs of this person who will go on maternity leave, right? So it's not a really a helpful environment such that people are angry when women get pregnant. No, because the workload. And where in principle, you should get contractual people rather than like make all the others who will stay really work to death. No? And then modeling healthy behavior, that the supervisor should really make it normal, that sometimes you have to leave the organization because you have to leave the workplace because you're going to attend a school activity. So don't be ashamed to say that. Just say, I'm going to attend my child's graduation, so because a little bit more normal, no? And then the last is to partner with other managers to address work-life issues. Like a last example that I have is like 2 managers talking. You know, in marketing, I have someone who's so good, but now she's on her 5th child. I don't really want to lose her. Can you just take her in HR because it's an 8 to 5 schedule, but we know that afterwards she can go back to marketing because we don't want to lose her. So this kind of partnering, not to lose talents. Okay? So there, I really think that we can take advantage of individual advices tending towards people so that they can survive a toxic workplace, so that they can have more work-life balance. At the same time, I recommend that you really talk to your organization so that we can make things happen at the organizational level to have some systemic solutions to all of these problems, no? So with that, I end with a quote from Simon Sinek in the new book, The 8-Minute Game. Great leaders are the ones who think beyond the short term versus the long term. They're the ones who really think about the next generation. So we're not playing finite games, we're playing infinite games. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Avic Caparas. Please stay on stage for a short question and answer session, and may we call on Ms. Carmen De Leon to lead the question and answer session.
Avic, I saw many faces when you were talking. They can relate, right? They can relate. And in your last slide, you said, you quoted that organizations must be able to think long term and not short term. But again, reality check, most companies would look at the expense or the GP or the net income. How do you handle them?
I think I recommend people who are within that organization are very conscious about the turnover to really show some analytics. Like I would even say, there are free courses on data analytics. Because we have to help one another to drive home the point. The numbers can convince. It's not anecdotal cases. So I can tell you, there are many courses there. Let's make it work. The numbers in terms of the lower productivity. I have many research on how much money does it cost to replace one person. So we have to give the numbers, or else the bosses might not listen to us.
Is there also, of course, we look at the data, like the number of absenteeism,
Yes.
sick leave,
Yes.
that you don't even know if they are sick or not.
Yes. Or mistakes. Because even if they're not sick, there's already an underlying problem. Why don't they want to go to work? So there's a problem in terms of motivation, engagement.
And of course, the resignation.
Right.
Because they don't want to stay.
Yes.
So is there an ROI? Like, when you talk to the organization, do you present, okay, this is your number of sick leave, number of absenteeism or turnover, attrition, and all. And then if we address this, then you will have, is there something like that?
At the moment here, none yet. But abroad, there's so many ways for them to show the numbers. I recently read an article from the Defense Ministry abroad. They really have huge numbers in terms of quantifying the absenteeism, the lack of productivity, the desire to leave, because that alone is very, you can waste productivity because people are just looking into job street during office hours. They're spending all of these company resources because they're looking for other possibilities.
Engaged in searching.
So they're not
looking
really,
for a new job.
Right, they're not engaged in their current work.
Right. So, Lottie, your questions, please.
Hi, sir, from UP.
Yeah, I promised myself not to ask questions, but since you brought this topic, which is very close to my heart. Well, I came from SM. Sorry to mention the name SM. It's a huge corporation. Life-work balance is a myth for me.
Yes.
My first question, Doc, is this. Where do you think the change should be coming from first? Is it from the top level or from the workforce level? Because no matter how we talk about life-work balance, if the owners, entrepreneurs for that matter, will not even lead you to that, then I think that's a misnomer for me to showcase this kind of thing. Secondly, is life-work balance only applicable based on your research to those who are in the workforce management, for example? What about those people who are outside the realm of this? Is there really a work-life balance after all?
Okay. Thank you. So with the first question, I really think that work-life balance initiatives should come from the top. You can actually spend money to have a seminar on stress management, but when you go back to the same workplace, you face the same demands, you face the same style of the leaders. So I'm very happy with one government organization that has contacted me and said, can you do some work-life intervention with us? And I said, okay, so let's do it from the lower levels, the lowest level. No, actually from the top level. Wow, amazing. That really is very courageous of you to subject the top people to something like behavior tracking. I really didn't spend much about it. I really didn't talk about it, but in terms of that small intervention, like talking to the top people, the 4 types of support that we can actually give, and letting those top people track how many times they didn't say an unkind word, how many times they said, is there anything I can do to help you? I mean, for me, that is already something. So with that, I think really it has to start from the top, it should trickle down. And with just a little impact that I read about it, is that there is a pre-test and a post-test, and the subordinates really felt that the supervisors are really doing better. In terms of relating with them, relationship, the words that they use, the way that they give instructions. Okay? And then the other thing, work-life balance, is not just for people in the workforce. I remember a student of mine when I gave an interview, when I did a survey about their working parents, what is the nice thing about having working parents, all these things. One guy said, Miss, how much stress should a stay-home mom put to herself? I would say that when I give seminars to stay-home moms. Sometimes, you seem like you have much more work than a person in a corporate world. Sometimes it takes a little bit of organizing, a lot more in terms of time management, so that really when the members of your family come home, then you're as if you didn't work at all, you're so pretty, you have all time for yourself. But sometimes it's the stay-home mom who would like to tell everyone, I work so much, and she didn't even put on makeup, and the husband comes home, and the children comes home, it's like, I'm a martyr here. Yeah, so it's really attitude. It's really like raising awareness that to work at home is something that will develop you as a person. It's not martyrdom. Yeah, so work-life balance is also applicable for people who do not work.
It's for everyone,
Yes,
even the
it is.
students,
It
even
is.
our kids.
Yes.
It's for everyone.
Yes.
And yeah, it's more difficult to be a housewife because you don't get to put makeup. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
One
now-
more? Oh, we don't have time anymore? Alright. So that's it. BO, please.
Once again, thank you, Ms. Avic Caparas.
Okay. Well,
Kindly stay on stage to receive the token of appreciation from our representatives from Healthway Medical, Dr. Sunny Duran and Ms. Carmen De Leon.
Okay, very good. So work-life balance. Sounds easy, but it sure isn't. Okay, next speaker, kind of interesting from two aspects. One, I might have mentioned it, it's still on my mind. We had an interesting event last week on the logistics industry. I know it seems very different, and it is, but it's so interesting that the only thing these people talk about is, my God,